So I'm finally starting to come to grips with the fact that what I really should, I've had various rationales for why I'm doing this channel and why I do what I do, and I'm kind of coming to the point, I've been swapping gears. I've had all these roads I've been going down. I started to go out and prove to somebody a number of years ago that indexing barrels was a thing. Then I built this big plan to go build a 6 PPC in a way that had never been done before, and I went off. Anyway, I'm kind of at the point now where I'm going to start calling this channel crap that Al thinks is cool. I don't know what else to say. I'm off on another wild here. Now trust me, this 50 BMG thing is not on the burner. I'm in the work portion of it. I'm going through and building up, shooting it between ruptured shoulder blades. No, I've gotten rid of that because now I'm shooting it only free recoil. The screen door, you've heard me talk about all these. There's steel here in the background right now. This stuff right here is for building rails. Woo, on the Noreen. By no means have we stopped this program or this project in any way, but it got sidetracked. I told you I was working on another 50, and I introduced it here a week or so ago as the 50 fart. Now that you've had a week to think about it, I think most people are going to realize that this is not anything new. The 510 Whisper came out, oh man, in the 70s, way back in the day. I started messing with it, I'm going to say about 2008. I got this wild hair, and here's what triggered it. I just want to give you, what I'm going to do right now is give you my rationale for the 50 fart. I'm going to explain it, and here's why. I want some of you guys to get as excited about this kind of stuff as I am. This is stuff I have fun with. This is stuff I think is cool. I wish I could just play Ray Wylie Hubbard in the background. Go look it up on YouTube. Ray Wylie Hubbard. Some things on this, in this world, are just cooler than hell. And I just think this thing is so cool. And what spurred it on, back around, I don't know, somewhere in there through the presidential cycles that we've been going, good people have been getting out and fighting for our rights and getting back rights. And one of the rights that we got back 10 or 12 or 15 years ago was suppressors for hunting. The rest of the world requires them because what kind of a retard would go out and wreck his own ears just so he can go shoot some meat? That's dumb. That's stupid. It's illegal to hunt with an unsuppressed gun in a lot of European countries. But here's the problem. A suppressed gun, a normal hunting gun, goes so fast. You get two things making the noise. You all know this. There's the sonic crack and there's the muzzle blast. Well, if you're in New Zealand hunting stags with a 7mm mag, you learn pretty quick they're still loud. It's just that the long barrel and the long suppressor and everything gets out of the way from you, so you can still hunt comfortably without hearing protection. Although, once you fired a few, or if you're on the range, I still say wear hearing protection. But all the way through this, bottom line is the suppressor thing came around here in America finally, and people started building ARs. And I guess kind of the culmination in the first big initial push for 10 years ended up being the 300 blackout. Everybody went out and bought, I must know 10 people with 300 AC blackouts. Then they get out and they actually try to shoot something or hit something or do something, and the thing will barely roll a tin can. So from the start, I've always thought if I was ever going to do a suppressed system, let's start with a 50 grain. So I went out and got, I'm going to have to, I forgot one of my props here. I'm so sorry. It's a good thing that door was open. I got a whole table full of props here to go through, but I got to show you, there's a bunch more of this. I guess what happened was, though, I decided that the time had come for me to try a suppressed gun. I never got to the point where I built, but I started designing a cartridge. And this is old stuff. That's why luckily it was stored in a place that was easy to get to. When I first started this, remember, I'm a realist. I love competition and I love shooting PPCs and 308s. Middle-sized guns and little-sized guns, and I don't know that I'd ever go to one of them POS matches because it's kind of like golfing. I like to go to places where there's people that I relate to, people like me. For the most part, that's satisfied by bench rest matches. I like high-end accuracy people and high-end accuracy shooting, be it 100, 200 score, group, 600, 1,000. But anyway, this suppressor thing came up, and I'm thinking to myself, I want a suppressor, but I can't bring myself to spend $2,700 plus $1,000 for a suppressor to put together an AR platform that is a big centerfire 22 long rifle. Now, I can get 60, 70 grain bullets, so so does a Gila. They make 22 long rifles that are 60 some grain. So anyway, go up to the blackout, whatever. I decided, ran the numbers, looked it over, and decided if I'm going to do a suppressed setup, it's going to start at 45. A suppressed 45 ACP is wicked, wicked cool. In that regard, I went out and bought some a camp carbine, a 9mm camp carbine. The only reason I bought the 9mm camp carbine is because I couldn't find a 45. Just, there aren't available. It's a little 1022 size thing, and it shoots 9mm or 45 ACPs. The 45 ACP ones are, I drove all over this state. I followed Bates. I went here and I went there. My son-in-law down in South Carolina saved my buddy. He called me up one day and he said, I think I found I said, buy it. Let's not talk about price or whatever, your gas money. Let's, please, if you found a 45. He did. He found a Camp 45. And I bought it. I've never fired it. I bought some recoil buffers for both of the guns. I changed out, put in fresh recoil buffers, went through both guns. They're in perfect shape. Checked the stocks, no cracks. And to me, for a sweet, sweet little zombie popper, that Camp 45 suppressed is wicked. Then a bunch of kids were over here and they were shooting suppressed 22s and 9s and 45s and 300 AAC blackouts in bolt actions. And that was freaking cool. Again, not something I've done so much, but I have a lot of friends that are, taking different routes. So I'm totally infatuated now with single shot. Because that's quiet. There's no action rack and there's no side blast. It's just put. So, long story short, I came up with the idea of not only a 50 caliber. The 510 Whisper was built and designed by J.D. Jones for SSK, and his big thing was something called the Thompson Center Contender, which to me is about as much fun as an H&R shotgun. There's things about it that are okay, but accuracy rules, and they're just not accurate. There's nothing you can do. I remember back when I was a gunsmith in a gun store. I just buried my head when people brought these in and said, I want you to do that treatment that was in Guns and Flippin' Bloppin' Wappin'. This guy did this and he drilled a hole in the bottom of the barrel and he epoxied the whatever they do, relieve this, pressure up that. And you get a gun that'll shoot, instead of 3 MOA, maybe 2 MOA part of the time with the right load. It requires, now understand, in this 50 BM, well, I'll wait for just a minute here because I was feeling a little pity party there because life is way simpler for other people. This is hard for me. to get accurate guns. I'm only interested in guns that shoot under half MOA. My goal with the 50 is to get down to MOA, and the reason is when you add up all the numbers, every suppressed gun in the world is retarded except the 45 self-defense cartridges, and I'll use the 45 ACP as the ultimate weapon of self-defense, or if you're an operator or something and you need a suppressed whatever. Now you got a slug that's big enough to take out maybe a puppy dog or a human. You can't hunt with it or do anything useful with it in that regard. Although I guess if you're in a survival situation and you wanted to be quiet so the zombies didn't hear you and come and raid your camp. Anyway, these are all speculative things. But just suffice it to say that the 45 is pretty interesting. Then there's the 50s. Well, I went right to 50 and I started running numbers on the 750 grain. Now remember, this is back in the early 2000s. About '08. The only bullet really available was the 750. So I ran numbers on that, and I decided at 1,050 I wanted something that would open up to attack that I could hunt with. So I'm going to go down and just start focusing on this mess I've got on the table, on all my props here while I'm talking. I decided if I was going to have something effective for hunting, it might behoove us upon me in my world to not go with the AMAX, because this might not open up. It might just punch a 50 caliber hole. Now, once I think that through, you realize a 50 caliber hole is still bigger than most 30 calibers punch when they blow out the other side. So 50 caliber hole is nothing to sneeze at. And the wind drift figures are ridiculously good. But I thought 750 and won't open up. So I took this thing, I bought my 32, 34 inch barrel blank. And then it had another inch or two on the end because that's the way barrel blanks work. In 7.5 twist. Now, understand, I knew about the 510 Whisper. And it's set up with a 10 twist generally, and it's a thing, and it's this and it's that, but it's never been an accuracy platform. So I took this a whole different way, and in that sense I feel like I kind of designed a concept. I said, okay, first of all, I've got to come up with a cartridge case that'll hold enough powder and be of the correct dimensions. So I looked into the Whisper. There's a couple of things that scared me about the Whisper. At this time, Ricky the Retard Jameson was out suing Winchester and everybody else in the world, Browning and whoever, Olin Corporation, because he claimed that he had invented the WSM and he wanted to get royalties. Let's not go into Ricky Jameson's story. You can all research that on the net. But also SSK Industries had made noises about their case and their thing being proprietary. Now proprietary is a word that scares me, because that means some jackwad out there is trying to patent something, and patenting something in the gun industry is kind of stupid. Many, many years ago, my wife's dad invented something truly revolutionary. He invented the air vending machine. His company was Air Check. He built a shop, he built everything. He started Air Check Industries. He built the first quarter-operated air vending machine, but early on, because he had been an inventor his whole life, he came to grips with the fact that he didn't feel it was patentable because it's just an air compressor that you put a quarter in. So that's a pretty revolutionary thing. Now there's air compressors. They're up to $1 and $2 now in every freaking... Used to be back in the day there'd be a hose hanging out the side of the old shop, but those old shops are pretty much gone. So now you have a compressor somewhere. Great idea. He came up with it. He didn't patent it. So here's these guys in the gun industry that are patenting stuff. Well, when I heard proprietary J.D. Jones SSK 510 Whisper, it just kind of pissed me off a little bit. It just kind of makes me hurt way down in my belly hole. So I decided I want to avoid that guy, that thing, that at all costs. Because I don't need to hear about proprietary. You came up with something cool, take the credit, build the guns, live life, be happy. So anyway, I start looking. And of course there was the WSM cases that are out here. And I looked at them. This is what a cut down WSM case looks like. I've got 50 Alaskan cases. I got 50 Beowulf. A few things I wanted. I wanted good solid headspace. Now understand, these cases don't grow. You can't, no idiot in the world can make that grass, that no matter how hot they run them. This is one of the things I used to disprove the old, yeah, brass squeezes down under pressure and extrudes forward, and no, if that actually happened, your brass would look like Swiss cheese after no time. That's stupid. That is just butt stupid. But that's what drives the industry. So, this case will never grow. Now you ask yourself, how do you headspace on this? Well, let's go back to that 45 ACP we mentioned earlier and a whole bunch of other semi-automatic pistol cartridges. The answer is the case mouth. You can headspace right off of the case mouth, and this little cartridge case right here will accept. These ones haven't. This is an unfired. Holy crap, that's an unfired Norman case I just whacked off. Why do I do that kind of stuff? Anyway, I went out and grabbed some. I should have got some fired ones. Oh well, it would look like this, and it works. And somehow I'm getting my focus off here because that's kind of hard to see. But anyway, that's the smallest of the common cases. If I look, this is my, I threw this all out. This, for instance, is a Beowulf. Different sized bolt faces. These are all Lapua cases. So for me, I threw away this idea, even though it offers the neat facility of being able to go into a standard bolt action gun. I wanted to build this thing cheap, and I got thinking about it, 1,050, and I went, okay, is this bullet going to open up at 1,050, this big hard bullet? So I called down to Australia, and I had a guy send me an 892, he built for me an 892 grain mold. And I had my first experience with molding. These ones here now, I notice, have all been molded and swaged. They're set up for paper patching. So when I initially set this thing up, it's never been fired suppressed, it's never been run through the paces, it's never been designed and finished out, because as I mentioned in my last video, the introduction video, it hammered the snot out of me. I couldn't shoot it, and I couldn't get around it. I set out, kind of like I'm doing right now with these 50s. I'm going to set myself a challenge that I'm going to build 15-pound guns that recoil no more than a 30-06 and go into quarter minute. Well, I'm in the middle of that odyssey, and I'm making inroads, and I'm making not. I think my gun's increasing in weight. I can get it under 20, but I don't know if I'm going to hit 15. But that's neither here nor there. That's part of the challenge. You'll get to watch that. But this little hose bag, with these 895 grainers at 1,050. Now the first thing that happened is 7.5-inch twist barrel. There's a brand new shiny bullet right off the press. I mean, it's kind of beat up now but there's a bunch of them in here. If I can get them pointed at the camera. I molded a bunch of these up, and I went out and started shooting, and this thing just hammers the piss out. Horrifying. So, and in the meantime, it leaded that bore up. That 7.5-inch twist bore just had strings of lead in it, and I couldn't get the ES. I worked it up all the way from Unique and various pistol powders like Bullseye, Red Dot, Blue Dot, Clays. I worked all the way up and through to Retumbo. I've got a whole chart of workups. I took all these different powders, and I tried to find a powder that would give me good ES using these lead bullets. All at 1,050. But I was getting so ripped and shredded from this thing. I built the world's biggest muzzle brake. I did all kinds of stuff, but I stuck with my paradigm that I was going to have a 10-pound gun with the scope. And the whole thing died on the vine back around 2010, 2012. But my rationale here was this is pure lead. This is no linotype. This is no, and I didn't add no tin. I didn't add no nothing. I'm talking I went down and bought pure soft lead. Scratch it with your finger. Hey, you can. Obviously you can if you know anything about this. Anyway, thinking it upset, killing elk. The whole thing was about killing elk. Well, the world has changed in the meantime. All of a sudden, this is, by the way, the mold for making the piece of paper that you use for I learned. Every day is about learning, okay? It's all cool. And I went on cast boulettes and I talked to people and I learned this is not how, but it goes something like this. How to do this. I went and read Black Light again, or shoot whatever the original was. I guess it wasn't Black Light, but anyway. No, that was a joke. Paper patch bullets. Went there, did that, finally decided, that whole odyssey taught me that never gonna shoot lead again. The lead thing went away. My $290 super cool lead mold, because this thing still, those big bullets at almost 900 grains still have a BC pushing 8 something. But long story short, fighting with lead at 1050 was just not gonna be my thing. Just not. Never gonna do it. So I set that whole thing aside back around 2010. It went on the burner, so I had the 2 insurmountable problems with this whisper. And I decided, now that I'm in this 50 BMG project, I'm going to reopen this pig. I'm going to get back up and I'm going to get after this again, and I'm going to see if I can reopen it. So I've been spending some time on the inner tube, getting back on the first thing I find out is that everybody else out there is, first of all, they think it's kind of a gimmicky cartridge, and second of all, they're getting results that I'm not expecting to get that quickly. But we'll talk about that. I just wanted to open the door to this next video where I'm going to go down and talk about the design and development and what our options have been with a 50 caliber subsonic, quiet but deadly. I called mine the fart. Silent but deadly.